For the first time in 31 years, the country can collectively celebrate, because this is an achievement for everyone, the reduction of murders from the highs of almost 49 per 100,000, sometimes as high as over 1,500 murders per year. So now this year, having, by my last check, 673 murders, under 700 murders, the third year of reduction in murder.
It's nothing to celebrate. Do you know what 600 and odd people look like? That's a whole heap of people. But beyond that, though, is that the year 2025 also saw one of the highest rate, the amount of people killed in Jamaica, extrajudicial killing in Jamaica by the police. Just reminding you that IRFM's Hurricane Melissa relief drive is still underway. Hurricane Melissa has devastated the homes and lives of many of our brothers and sisters here in Jamaica. We appeal to you to give generously to the IRFM 11 Coca relief drive. People in affected areas urgently need the following: rice, flour, sugar, cornmeal, non-perishable food items such as oats, crackers, etc., canned food, sardines, mackerel, and so on, tarpaulin, solar lights, battery or solar-powered radios, personal hygiene products are also welcomed. Drop your donations at IRFM at Coconut Grove here, Coconut Grove in Oterias, right here in St. Anne, or 1B Courtney Walsh Drive in Kingston. We'll get your donation to all those who need it. A small donation from you will make a big impact on somebody's life. The IRFM 11 Coca Relief Drive, getting Jamaica back on its feet quickly, making things Irish still. By the way, just to remind you, we do not need any more donation of clothing or water. Right? So we're okay with clothing and water now. Thank you. I have something to say. And I think I need to pull the music down to say it, because I am very concerned about the state of journalism in Jamaica. Extremely concerned. And I want to talk within the context of a particular story that has been making the rounds in every newsroom, every newspaper, every news outlet, picked up by social media, interestingly. And that is to say, Jamaica has experienced its lowest murder rate year 2025 for the last decade or something like that. Now, that by itself might be true, but it needs a critical analysis, because what is killing by the gun or the knife or a hammer or a cutlass, machete? Is killing is a gun in the hand of a civilian who shoots another civilian. Killing? Because murder is a legal term. Is that considered killing the person? And a gun in the hand of a member of the JCF or security forces that is used to kill a civilian who has not been captured, caught, tried, convicted, and sentenced to be killed by gun by police. Is that killing? I know what the crime situation is like in Jamaica. I'm very much aware of it. In this space, we talk a lot about it. But the reporting has to be more nuanced than this. Because, I hear the Prime Minister saying that we should celebrate. It's something to celebrate. 600 and odd people dead, now killed in a year, and it's something to celebrate. We should not be celebrating anything like that. It is your job and our responsibility too to ensure that we have zero killing. So don't tell us that we must celebrate because 600 and odd people dead. I don't know if the Prime Minister recognizes that statement that he made says a lot about him. And I don't know if he's just, sometimes you're talking and you get carried away with something and then you say it and you want to pull it back, but you can't pull it back, and instead of pull it back, you go on and on about it. So don't tell us to celebrate. And maybe I'm saying this, I don't know, but, I cannot believe coming from a Prime Minister. The word he uses, celebrate. So Jamaica has one of the highest murder rate then, crime, killing in the world. It was second highest the last time we did check, right? And you have 600 and odd people being killed in a year. And that is down by how much percent? 40 odd percent or something like that. But it is still no reason to celebrate because it was so high that taking it down to 600 and odd people killed, or getting it down, or it coming down to 600 and odd people killed, is nothing to celebrate. Do you know what 600 and odd people look like? Well, you try put on an event and see the 600 and odd people in the venue and say you don't feel happy. If it's 600 and odd people come. That's a whole heap of people. But beyond that, though, is that the year 2025 also saw one of the highest rate, the amount of people killed in Jamaica, extrajudicial killing in Jamaica by the police. And so that number, 311, I think it is, must be added to the 600 and odd. Why we separate them? And if you're going to call it murder, who determines the guilt or innocence of any Jamaican? And let me tell you something. I'm not going to have no conversation with nobody, because listen, here's why I'm even getting angry just hearing what a lot of people are saying, because you've already said this to me in many different ways over the years, which is to say the police have know the criminal. And so people are dead and criminal kill people, so police will kill them. But we have a situation in Jamaica of classism, racism, colorism. And our black boys, especially, are criminalized before you even know them name. You could have, and we have gradation, if you will, of coloring, colorism in Jamaica. So the browner you are, the most unlikely you are to commit a crime, even though you might be the wickedest one on the lot. And that is the reality of Jamaica. So our black boys, when we send them out of our house, them black skin, they are first criminalized before anything else. So that we know. All right. And this is why I say I'm concerned about the state of journalism. I don't know how you report that you have such a decrease in so-called murders in Jamaica, in killings in Jamaica, but yet you have 311 deaths. I think that's a number. Yeah, if I'm wrong, somebody tell me. I think that's a number. By the security forces. Last year alone. One year. That is the news. That is the news. And I challenge our newsrooms and our news editors to think critically. A decrease in the number of people dead that end up with that take you to 600 odd is not a headline news. The news is that in 1 year, the institution, organization, the place, the people entrusted with the job of protecting, of security, protection of the people have killed in 1 year 311 of us. That is a massive headline. That is the news. That right there is the news. And I'm very shocked that I'm not hearing more from private sector, civil society, elites, oligarchs, name uno. I know that if civil society takes it on, they'll get a bashing, because that is how it works in Jamaica. When civil society take on police killing, as sooner, they get a bashing. But sometimes we have to feel the fear and do it anyway. But there is no way at all, that we can sit down, stand by, and ignore the fact that the security forces have killed. And remember, this is not charged, tried, sentenced to execution by gun, you know. And we spend all our time talking about international law and human rights. And we're heading up massive UN organizations. But have we looked at ourselves? Have we really looked at ourselves? We have not managed to curb crime, criminal activities in Jamaica. That is over there by itself. And now we have the security forces. What are you telling me? In an effort to curb crime and criminal activities, you killed 311 people without trial? Who are these 311? I want every single one of their names. And this is what journalism should do. 311 names, 311 mothers, 311 father. Go to the homes. Find out who these 311 people killed by the security forces are. That is important. That is the role of journalism. And the Prime Minister wants us to celebrate because 600 odd people dead, killed this year in the civil war in Jamaica. Jamaicans killing themselves. The thing is warped. It turned upside down. Somebody retuned the entire thing. We've been talking about who retuned the nation. I don't know. But we are seeing, I don't know whose eyes we're looking out of, whose lenses we're looking out of. Who is directing the narrative? Who determine how we think about things? So I'm very concerned about this. And I'm concerned about the state of journalism in Jamaica. This is shocking that we will not report. Who wrote the first press release that say this is a big news, 40-odd percent, 41%, I think, decrease in crime. And yet, you have 311 deaths where you never add pan it. You have to add them up. You have to put a pan it and add them up. That's a number. Because each person is a soul, one person. So who you not count? Who not count? Who not count in the amount of people who were murdered on the island last year? Who not count? Who are the 311 that not count? On another matter coming out of Ghana, interesting story coming out of Ghana. Thank you so much for bringing this to my attention, Kwame Pianki. My Joy Online, Joy FM in Ghana, is reporting that the Paga youth movement in the Upper East region of Ghana is raising serious security concerns over the repeated appearance of a particular aircraft at the Paga airstrip over 3 days, calling on the government of Ghana and national security authorities to urgently clarify the aircraft's identity, mission, and authorization. In a press release issued on Wednesday, the group said residents observed an aircraft bearing the tail number 60171, reportedly of United States origin, landing repeatedly at the airstrip. According to the youth movement, the aircraft would abruptly take off whenever community members gathered to observe or inquire about its presence, a pattern they say heightened suspicion and anxiety among residents. The situation reportedly escalated on December 31 when the aircraft landed again and was intercepted by district-level security agencies. That means that the people have taken it in their own hand and just intercept that, including the Ghana Police Service, the National Intelligence Bureau, the National Security Operatives, and other allied agencies. The group alleged that the occupants of the aircraft refused to disembark or cooperate with security personnel, a development they described as deeply touching. Well, them say it's American origin plane. So that's a Ghana. No, it's not funny, but it leads me to, and I'll raise these questions next week, right? Because, at the beginning of each year for the first program, and this is one of the plans I had, but for what is happening in the Caribbean waters, was to look at the unsolved cases, the things I want to hear anything else about, the big cases, massive cases that come up and then you hear nothing about them. For example, the massive cocaine fine at Boscobel Airport that happened, how many years that's going into now, and what's the outcome of that? Also the plane where it crashed down in St. Elizabeth there and so on. So we have some massive drug fan. I think one also on the wharf or something to that effect. But we'll come back to those next week. But there are some cases that's just hanging out there, Justice delayed is justice denied. Just hanging out there that we tend to forget. Is journalism again, because we shouldn't forget. We must have a thing, a diary, a reminder of the cases that we need to follow, because they're national cases and they're significant cases. But journalism in Jamaica is occupied now only with what the artists them do, especially the dancehall artists them, who say what, when, where, and how, and what color hair them have and what color frock them wear, and them something there. There's a journalism there for the most part in Jamaica now. It's a crisis. It's a crisis, and I'm in the industry. The media landscape is becoming what it is becoming, and we're choosing to become that. We don't have to, but that's what we're choosing to become. Okay, thank you so much. So many of you have sent me an article in today's paper. I think it's today's paper. I've got 6 of you so far sending me that very same article, and thank you for that, because so the Gleaner, Andre Williams, staff reporter at the Gleaner, seems to have caught this, and he says, let me go down, the year 2025 will be remembered as a paradoxical year for Jamaica, as despite recording a historic low in overall murders, the past 12 months have been overshadowed by a grim counter trend, an unprecedented number of citizens killed by security forces. This is journalism. Andre Williams, this is journalism. And the Gleaner publishes it, and it says, between 2017 and 2025, 1,422 people were fatally shot by members of the security forces based on figures compiled from the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, and the police. Of that total, 311 deaths occurred last year alone, accounting for approximately 22% of all fatalities recorded during the 8-year period. The concentration of deaths at the hands of members of the security forces in a single year. This concentration of deaths at the hands of his members of the security forces in a single year is unprecedented. No other year since Indicom began publishing regular statistics in 2017 has come close to producing such a large share of the overall toll, making 2025 a defining and troubling period in Jamaica's policing landscape. There is hope for journalism. I take back what I said. Andre Williams, you've done a brilliant job here. Gleaner for publishing. Kudos to you. All right, there you go. It's a long article, so go and read it. It's in today's Gleaner. And I didn't even see that. So good. Good. Yeah. All right, so quite a bit coming in. Thank you so much. I'm getting quite a bit from you. And that's from, I'm talking about listeners. A lot of... All right. I'm getting some rumors too. I can't confirm the rumors of the aircraft that did fly over Jamaica with weapons showing. I cannot confirm it. I don't know about it. But I can check. I mean, if that happened, that's serious. All right. So Andrew says CARICOM is dead. If Jamaica struggles to get patties and DHQs into the east, what chance of regional security? Privy versus CCJ. Yeah, that's happening. And then Erica, thank you so much for this, reminding us of a little baby that was killed. It's getting out of hand, she says. Our children are not safe. It soon reach everyone's doorstep. The young baby, the 4-year-old that was so viciously and violently killed in Montego Bay. Our hearts grieve for our children. And to the parents, our deepest condolences. So this is how violent of a nation we have become. And we have nothing to celebrate when it comes to reduction in crime, especially when you still have 600 odd people being killed. A baby at the beginning of the year being shot and killed. However it happened. And, and I think it's more than one child since a year. We're talking about January 4 now, So here we are. I am not quite sure what these reptilians who are running Jamaica think they're doing. These sea serpents. The Gordon House has become the synagogue of Satan. We're going to have to face that. We're going to have to face that. Because I don't know how. Time and I from is a minute after 9 o'clock. And we must not be afraid to say, as journalists, and those of us who stand in the spaces, to speak of these issues, especially because there seems to be a group think around crime, politics, corruption. You dare talk on them, say a bad man. And I know that bad man is narcissism. So somebody must explain that to me. Usually it is a narcissist who accuses people of bad mind. So explain that to me. Anyway, we have to go to our next segment of the program. Thank you so much for joining us inside of the Africa Forum as usual, and thank you for your many messages coming in even as we speak. And one of the things we have been talking about since morning is the geopolitical issues as they relate to us, we the people, whether it's in the Caribbean or on the continent of Africa. My next very special guest is Charles Hyatt. He is an IT professional, DJ, husband, and father who will tell you that he lives on a purpose-driven life rooted in service to others. Born in England and raised across Jamaica and the United States, Charles Hyatt's worldview has been shaped by diverse cultures and strong life lessons passed down by his parents, most notably his mother, Dr. Vera Hyatt. Charles holds a Master of Science in Information Technology Security from Bowie State University in Maryland and a Bachelor of Science in Health Sciences from Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. His professional strengths include leadership, management, training, and strong oral and written communication skills. I know that because I buck him up in a Sierra Leone, and you'd think that we know each other a long time. It was kind of a spirit meeting. Charles Hyatt Jr. How are you doing, my brother?
I am well, Kabu. It's such a pleasure to be a part of this program. I'm usually a listener, and I usually listen with a smile on my face and a smile in my heart to how you handle this program. But to actually be a member on this program or a guest on this program is just amazing to me. What a wonderful way to start 22.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like I'm a part of the family now,
Yeah, you've been. Listen, everybody heard your name, so we're going to clear that up first. Charles Hyatt, and and then I said Charles Hyatt Jr. So, and I mentioned your mom, of course, Dr. Vera Hyatt. So let's get this out of the way and talk a little bit about your pedigree. Your dad is well known in Jamaica, Charles Hyatt, and of course, many of my listeners this morning would also recognize your mom's name, Dr. Vera Hyatt.
True. Yes. So, as far as pedigree, I'm from a normal set of family people. The Hyatt family that Charles Hyatt, who was Jamaica's actor and comedian, was the head of our household, led by, or shared with Dr. Vera Hyatt, who was, while she was in Jamaica, the deputy director of the National Gallery, and then went on to become one of the head curators at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., who, for 9 years, built the Cape Coast and Elmina Castle into the museums that they are today.
Yes.
She really has done amazing work across this world, and I wait for the time when we can actually recognize her for the work that she has done posthumously. So, Daddy, of course, movies, television, and made everybody laugh, and so that is the normal line of people that I come from.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I know your mom's work, and I think we've seen her in action. Sister P can very well remember that. She was Sister P who introduced her to us, and it was a group, so it was an individual introduction. But we met in Ghana, actually, at the Cape Coast Dungeons. All right. So what she did tell us is this is her work, and at first we misunderstood her work. Can I just say, because people will remember that, but afterwards we recognize. And we're activists, right? So we're activists and misunderstood the word, but later on we came to recognize though and celebrated it. So thank you your mom posthumously, and I'm sure she'll be honored. You yourself, you've lived, and we met in Sierra Leone, and I remember having the conversation with you about, your sojourn in Africa. You've lived in different places in Africa. Talk to us about that.
Right. So I lived in Zimbabwe back in the early 2000s. And subsequently to that, I've traveled extensively in mostly sub-Saharan countries, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Namibia, Botswana. I have an affinity to Africa because ever since I landed in Zimbabwe in 2001, my life changed. If I can just give you a scenario. Yes. I went to Zimbabwe as a Peace Corps volunteer because I'm a U.S. citizen, and so I wanted to know Africa, and I joined the Peace Corps to get there cheaply and to be taken care of by the U.S. government. So my goal was to understand why Bob Marley chose Zimbabwe to think to sing about so exclusively.
Yes.
And I tell you what happened. I found out on the very first day why.
Mm-hmm.
I was the last person off the plane that stepped on that tarmac. Mm-hmm. Of those, I think it was at the time it was 30-something volunteers, mm-hmm. and as they were rustling us up, I was kind of off by myself with a red, green, and gold Rasta scarf around my neck because it was winter time in Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. And a lady came over to me and asked me if I was with the group, and I said, "Yeah, man, I'm with them, but I kind of just do my thing by myself. I'm trying to take in this moment of actually being on the African continent." Mm-hmm. And she looked back and she said, "Wait, hold on, where are you from?" And I said, "Well, I'm from the United States. I came with these guys, but I'm actually a Jamaican." Mm-hmm. And she said, "A Jamaican? Mm-hmm. You stay right here." So she walks off to a group of men and says something to this group of men. Now, I have to pause you there and give you a caveat.
Yes.
Before going to Zimbabwe, I was continuously told that being in Africa as a black man, black American, will not be a good experience because they will see me as a slave return.
Oh.
And they were completely discouraging me, and I'm talking about Peace Corps, was completely discouraging me from going to Africa. So they wanted to send me to Belgium, they wanted to send me to all these countries, and I insisted that I must go to Zimbabwe. Anyway, so I had this on my mind, and I thought, Jesus Christ, you mean say the Ratakan going to start right now? I just reach here and it's going to start. So now, these group of 5 men and this woman come walking towards me. So I square up because I figure, okay, if it's this how I'm going to go home, well, I'm going home with a fight.
Right.
And 2 men went behind me and 2 men came in front of me. They're not saying a word, Mm-hmm. And the 2 men behind me scooped me up and put me on their shoulders.
Really?
And they all started to say, "Jamaica, welcome home." And they started to sing and all kind of things. And they took me into the immigration office on their shoulders, chanting, "Jamaica is home. Right. Jamaica is home."
Yes, yes.
Let me tell you something.
Wow.
Me bawl like a baby.
I can imagine. I totally understand.
Me bawl like a baby, and that has been my introduction and my experience as a Jamaican on the African continent ever since then.
We love it. And this is usually how we go home to Africa. It's either that or you get the best limos, don't it? And
yeah, man.
It's just the best treatment when we return to Africa. But we're going to talk a little bit now about Africa generally. Your interest in Africa is deep. You're coming from a family, your mom especially, that was a focus also. What else could you have done? Out of your own, though, and by having conversations with you, I know this is where you're standing, looking at Africa from all different perspectives, not least of which is the geopolitics. And so one of the things we're going to do, just so our listeners know, is that this is your first interview we're going through for the month of January. You'll join us each Sunday to look at different places in Africa and to talk about what's facing Africa, what are the concerns, what are the major issues, the geopolitics of it all, if you will, going in as we enter into 2026 and moving towards 2030. So we wanted to kind of just go through the continent, generally the different regions, West Africa, South Africa, and when we say South, I mean Southern Africa, Eastern Africa, and Central Africa. One thing we want to do this morning is to get your perspective on what are the issues across the continent, and then to zoom in on Eastern Africa, especially the Horn of Africa. So let me take a quick break and we come forward to that.
Yeah, man.
The National Housing Trust has an important peril insurance advisory. All NHT mortgagors who suffered damage to property from Hurricane Melissa may submit a peril insurance claim by Thursday, January 15, 2026 at your nearest NHT office. Forms are available at NHT offices or online at www.nht.gov.jm. For more information, visit their website, contact your nearest NHT office or dial toll-free 888, call NHT or 888-225-5648.
Join the National Cleanup and Volunteer Drive. Let's restore our communities one street, one home, one heart at a time. Sign up at supportjamaica.gov.jm. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
Now, 14 after 9 o'clock. My very special guest online is Charles Hyatt II, and we're looking at the continent of Africa from a geopolitical perspective. So he's wearing his professional geopolitical analyst's hat this morning. So, my brother, let's look at Africa generally, and then to go to the Horn of Africa. What are some of the geopolitical issues that you have observed or you're observing that might be of concern to you, continental-wise?
Well, I mean, this conversation could go on for many months.
Yes.
But I think the most recent thing that I have been paying attention to was the end of the year. Two things happened at the end of the year. First of all, Ibrahim Traoré took over the executiveship of the Sahel states. Mm-hmm. And before he took it over, he made a very interesting speech about the Black Winter, which is coming to West Africa. Which he said Africa. Mm-hmm. And the Black Winter symbolizes that both externally and internally, there are going to be destabilizing forces that are going to try to get control of Africa again and to make Africans turn in on themselves and give up all resources. And the way that I admire Ibrahim Traoré, mm-hmm. The motto of Burkina Faso is homeland or death. Mm-hmm. And it is spreading like wildfire across the African continent. And I think that whereas the Black Winter is coming, I think that the mindset of Africans is changing, mm-hmm. and people are saying homeland or death. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that was great to see happening at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that's a motto that we can all take on for those of us who are serious
Absolutely.
About this homeland or
Absolutely.
death. Yeah.
The second thing is the foiled coup that just happened, or just was attempted to happen in Burkina Faso. Mm-hmm. That just happened a few days ago, and the same man that I think it's Damiba, that Ibrahim Traoré overthrew to take control, has been working with France and other places to try to overthrow Ibrahim Traoré, and the intelligence of the Burkina Faso army thwarted it, and that was just a couple of days ago. Mm-hmm. So that is just another indication of the homeland or death. They're doing everything to make sure they're securing themselves, and it is coming from the citizens, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. The security is coming from even the citizens who sleep outside the castle gates. I mean, it's just amazing.
It's phenomenal, actually, to see citizens getting up at a certain time of the day to go protect the Prime Minister or the President. I mean, it's phenomenal.
It is absolutely phenomenal. Now, the last thing that I've seen that is quite telling is the move in Gabon, mm-hmm. in Central Africa, mm-hmm. that the reciprocation of the banning of all American citizens from entering the country. Yes. They just put out the edict
Yes.
that because the United States has banned basically 26 of the 50-something countries in Africa from entering the United States and getting any visas or anything of that nature, Gabon has said, okay, guess what? You can't come here.
Exactly.
And that, again,
Yes.
I mean, we know the Sahel had done it, and we know that the Sahel has reason, and we expected it to happen in the Sahel. But for it to happen to Gabon, to happen in Gabon, is an amazing outlook on what, again, is echoing homeland or death.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Now, if we go over to the Horn of Africa, we see we see a lot of chess being played with the ports over in Somaliland and Somalia, and the plays that Ethiopia, the play of Ethiopia that was thwarted by I am just going to say Israel, because if you remember, it was Ethiopia first who said that they would recognize Somaliland, just for the simple fact that they needed a port, right? And then all of a sudden, the Africa Union, and the United Nations said, "Oh no!" The Security Council said this cannot happen, and then all of a sudden, in swoops Israel to say, we recognize you fully as a country, blah, blah, blah. I think what we're seeing, and we're going to be seeing a lot of, is America's political or geopolitical movements to cut off the trajectory of China. And the way to do that is to try to control the trade routes that are used by countries around the world. And that is, I think, that is exactly what is happening.
Immediately, you think the Panama Canal in this region, because that's a whole other story, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And of course,
and if you look, and I do believe that the next port that they will go after is what I'm called the Chauncey port, that China built right off the coast of South America. I think that the United States, because of its need to control the world, is going to try to attack that Chauncey port and try to take over that Chauncey port.
And this is why. Yeah, finish. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to point back to the security strategy that national security strategy that they put out a few weeks ago, which in which they are underscoring and are pains to talk about the Monroe Doctrine. We're saying it's the Monroe Doctrine and the Manifest Destiny. They deliberately left that out. But so I think this is why they are dusting off the Monroe Doctrine and making it now Monroe Doctrine 2.0. They're talking about Trump Monroe Doctrine corollary, but also Trump is saying it is a Donroe Doctrine. So that tells
Donroe, exactly.
Yeah. So it tells us what time it is in terms of what their plans are for the region. So and I agree with you that I think China is at the center of all of that. What about? Oh, let me take a quick break because I'm going to ask you about Southern Africa itself. But let me take a quick break. All right, we're back with you inside of the Africa Forum. Charles Hyatt Jr. is on the phone. Do you prefer if I say Charles Hyatt Jr. or Charles Hyatt II?
It doesn't matter. The same person.
My brother Charles. I was just teasing you there. I just love the second, so I'll go with the second. All right, listen.
That's fine.
So in terms of the Southern Africa, what are you looking at there as we go into 2026 and beyond? What are the issues?
Well, what I see there is, again, the geopolitical chess move that is trying to keep South Africa in turmoil, and the obvious play to keep Julius Malema out of the game. because they know for a fact if Julius Malema gets control of the government, it is checkmate, period. Right? And so they're keeping South Africa, especially South Africa, in straight turmoil, because you can see the different infiltrations that are happening by the clandestine government, the clandestine organizations that planting all this information and making all these deals that are under the table, all of a sudden come out in the open, and it's a playbook that is repeated over and over again. Yeah. So that's what's happening in South Africa. But there is a wonderful thing happening between, let me get the names right, Botswana, Namibia, and there's a third country, I'm missing it at the moment, that they have taken on the same understanding as the Sahel nations, and they've removed their borders, and they're now negotiating as one bloc. And Botswana is making serious strides to own their resources, nationalize their resources, and then benefit from their nationalization of their resources.
Is Zimbabwe part of that? It's considering they're all...
No, Zimbabwe is not in it. Zimbabwe, they asked Zimbabwe because, let's just say Zimbabwe said no for now. But it is... I believe it is Botswana, Namibia, and Rwanda. I'm not too sure. I cannot remember at the moment. But they share a border, right? The three of them share a border. And they've all removed their borders. And the people are going back and forth, working, living, whatever, without any checks at all at any checkpoints. And it is creating
that totally missed me. I didn't know that. So I look forward to hearing you comment on that widely and what the implications are of that. Is it Zambia? No? I'm just looking at the map.
I think it might be Zambia. Yes, it is Zambia. Yes.
And so it is
Zambia. Yes, it's Zambia. It is Zambia.
Tell us a little bit more about that, Charles.
So it has been developing for about a year now, since what is the Botswana president? Bako? What is his name? I can't remember his name. But when he came in, he said, look, there are some things that need to happen. And one of the first things that need to happen is that we need to stop seeing each other as separate. We need to be one. And he said that his goal in his presidency is to make sure that he unifies, like Ibrahim Traore. He unifies.
His name is Duma. Duma Bako, yeah.
Duma Bako, right. And he and the lady from Namibia have been working assiduously to basically lead Sub-Saharan Africa in this unification effort. They had a forum last year where they made the announcement that it was Zambia, Namibia, and Botswana that are removing all borders, all checks at all that separate the countries, and they want to negotiate as one bloc. And they are one of the significant things that they said is that they are removing all contracts from foreign organizations that have come in and have been basically raping the country, and they are renegotiating all contracts. They're not kicking people out,
right?
But the negotiation has to happen where the countries themselves benefit.
Yeah, that I did see. All right, so this is big in Southern Africa, and it's something to follow up. I'm really looking forward to hear how you kind of pass that when we go into Southern Africa. I'm going to take another quick break, and did we do Central Africa?
Well, Gabon.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
So Central Africa, East Africa, West Africa. And so this is just to give our listeners an idea of where we're going to be going throughout the time that you'll be looking at geopolitics on the continent of Africa. We'll take a quick break. We come back and look a little closer at the Horn of Africa. Charles, before we go back to the Horn of Africa, it seems to me, just from listening to how you are approaching this, that Ibrahim Traore is central to how you move forward and the way you see Africa moving forward.
100%. That is. Let me put it this way: if you look at world history, we have been kind of depending on a single person to lead us, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it be Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Gandhi, whomever, right? Mm-hmm. A single individual. What we're seeing now is a coalition of leaders who are saying the same thing, including from going back before Hugo Chavez. Mm-hmm. When, if you look at what's happened in Venezuela recently, you'll understand that it is all about the same voice coming together from many different angles saying, we're tired of imperialism. We must stand as a group unified against this type of behavior. And on the African continent, Ibrahim Traore is that image, but the three, Assimi Goïta and Chiani and Traore, those three stand unified as one image that says we can unify and benefit from it. And if you look at what is happening with Mahama in Ghana, he is making leaps and bounds to even join the Sahel nations, right? Yeah. And the same thing happening with Chad, trying to join the Sahel nations, right? So it is a wave that we're seeing now of unity. And the old idiom that has been ringing true in reggae music about Africa unite. It is happening.
Funny enough, it's a song I scheduled to play this morning. It's interesting. It's interesting you said that. It's one that I actually had lined up to play. But anyway, one song I would love to hear you play. It's a very simple lyrically. It's a very simple song, but it's a serious song that must hear regularly, and that is "Sitting and Watching" by Dennis Brown. Oh, I really do not play a lot of Dennis. That's true. Sitting and watching.
Yeah, man. Sitting and watching.
Sing it for me.
If you want me to sing it, you sure you want me to do that? But the lyrics basically are saying, sitting here watching fools like themselves when they should be thinking about getting to know themselves. While life goes on, everyone's got to stand strong. We cannot surrender, right? And then he says, giving your heart and soul to vanity makes your life filled with pain and misery while life goes on.
There you go. And I must play more Dennis Brown. Dennis used to be my brethren, I mean, we were pretty close back in the day, the early days of Irish.
Wow.
Yeah, so I really must play.
Beautiful.
And thank you so much for reminding us of this song in particular. And we tend to rock to the rhythm of Dennis, and especially this song. But to zoom in on the lyrics is a whole other kettle of tea. Just listening to that was something else.
That is it. Yeah. And that is why I love music so much, because we have a tool called reggae music that has absolutely changed the entire world. And nobody can deny that. And when we use that tool the way it is supposed to be used, I mean, movements happen that no one can explain. It's all divine. And that's one of the reasons. I mean, when you look at Jamaica's impact on Africa.
Yes.
It is inexplicable how Africans love Jamaica just because of the way that our music has permeated the stance of get up, stand up, stand up for your rights.
Yeah.
It's not just lyrics.
Yeah, and you witnessed this because you also, part of what you do that our listeners might not know is that you take the music across the world too.
Absolutely.
And so you'd have witnessed it from on stage, from the ground, among the people themselves, a bird's eye view of how generally our brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa connect to and tap into reggae music.
Yes, man. Yes, man. I give you a simple example, and I know we're talking about geopolitics, but let's take a caveat real quick.
Yeah.
I went to a session in Zimbabwe in 2001 that had, if you can imagine this, Stone Love, Kilimanjaro, Bodyguard. There were 6 songs.
You mean St. Anne's Bay down upper Richmond Estate? You mean St. Anne's Bay, Richmond Estate?
No, Mr. in a Harare, Zimbabwe. But here is what is interesting.
Yes.
Every one of the songs were carbon copies.
You serious?
You hear me tell you? They took cassettes and then burned the cassettes on dub plates, and they went to represent these songs. Now, they were having a sound clash, which it easily had about 3,000 people in the venue. It was a big stadium, right? Because a Jamaican that went over to Zimbabwe to pick apples back in the 80s stayed and built an amazing dance hall following in Zimbabwe. I can't remember his name, but his song was called Echo Stone.
Oh.
But
is it Dennis Wilson?
There it is.
Is it Dennis?
There it is.
Are you serious?
I think so. Yes, a Rastaman. Tall, lanky Rastaman.
No, we'll talk about that because I'd say Dennis because Dennis used to be in Zimbabwe and used to be a correspondent, but that might have been in the early 90s. But you're talking about the late 80s, mid 80s.
80s, yeah. He went over in the 80s as an apple picker and stayed.
Okay.
But anyway, in the dance, I said there are 2,000 such people, right? And the place is going on. They had one turntable, and each song or each DJ would go up and play one tune, and the place would go crazy. The night ended prematurely because one DJ decided to play one song, and the first 2 words of the song absolutely finish the dance. When I said finish, I mean it was pandemonium. People were fainting. I mean, people were being carried over the crowd, everything.
You serious? What words?
And those, listen, the 2 words that caused this pandemonium were, oh no, Red Rat. It was ridiculous what was
goodness.
happening. I stood there for at least an hour and a half looking at this one song just demolish the place.
Wow.
Me say them pull it up. They pull it up for an hour and a half, you know. Just those 2 words.
It reminds me of how big Eric Donaldson is in like Ghana, and I keep saying,
oh my gosh,
he can full out a stadium and then need another stadium to full out the overflow.
Absolutely,
people just want to know that. I have a text from Busy Campbell, right? Busy Campbell, and he says, "Morning, Sistren. As a driver of the first taxi gang LP taxi connection, I will tell you how sitting and watching song was done." I'm Mr. Busy, tell me, please. We love that. So Busy, could I tell me how it was
beautiful.
done? Now, but
I love that.
Yes, so the we cannot leave the music out of the geopolitics, and this is why we went off a bit, and especially the role of reggae music on the continent of Africa and in the liberation movements, because remember, this is how Bob Marley is so well loved in Zimbabwe in terms of having gone there, that concert that he did in the rain, and not to liberate Zimbabwe, right?
Yes. But Kabul, let me pause you there for a minute. Do you know that concert was held in a city called Mbare, right? It's a neighborhood called Mbare. Mbare has a prison.
Yes.
Or it had a prison. And when I say had, Bob Marley finished it, closed that prison basically.
Wow.
Let me tell you how he did that. The concert that he had in Mbare, which is a real ghetto area, right? It was a downtrodden, what them call a shantytown, basically, right?
Yes.
The concert was being held beside the prison. So the prisoners put pressure on the wall of the prison, so much so that it bust a hole through the wall, and the prisoners came flooding into the venue.
Wow. Yes.
Guess what, though? When I was there in 2001, I was living in a place called South Downs, which was not far from Mbare. So I said, I want to go to see this place. The hole is still there. They refused to open it. They refused to close it.
Yeah.
Because it was created by Bob Marley.
Significant energy, frequency, and vibration. Louder hole in the wall. So Busy says, Dennis just walked into the studio. That's Dennis Brown. And the rhythm was playing, and he said, hold the rhythm there. That means we have to play it again. Hold the rhythm there. I love that. And so let me take a little bit more of that, since Dennis did say hold the rhythm there. And well, it's on Busy probably can tell me, because Busy is texting me while we're on, which is I'm wondering if he just cannot just write a rhythm and make the lyrics up as he went along. I mean, the lyrics are very, very good, but it would be interesting if him just come in and write a rhythm and the lyrics just kind of flow like that. That would be quite something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean. You would have to understand, say, not only are the lyrics nicely and nicely written and they flow very well, but they are unbound by time, because it's the same message we have said today.
That's right. Yeah.
When you have ones and ones where travel to other countries and put on religious things that is have no ties to their religious beliefs whatsoever, and start kiss walls and kiss hands, just to show that we're a part of you, and have nothing to do with saving the people of their own country.
Yes.
I mean, these are the things. Giving your heart and soul to vanity fills you with pain and misery. Yeah. I mean, that's a serious statement.
Busy says,
that is relevant.
Busy says, Sly can confirm this, because I said, number one, you had Jimmy Riley, Tamlins, Black Uhuru, Junior Delgado, Gator, and was all waiting to be recorded. No, this is history. We're going to have to get Busy in to talk about these things. Busy, thank you so much for the backstory to this song that Charles asked us to play more of. Charles, you see how I think we still connect to the Horn of Africa, and especially to Ethiopia, because this is Rastafari, and Ethiopia was introduced to us in a very serious way. I mean, it was always in the Bible for those who were going to church, but it was in there in such a way as to put it down. It's like somebody else convert us to something, when Christianity existed on the continent of Africa long before European Christianity. But so that there is a connection between Rastafari, obviously a serious connection. It's a homeland, it's Africa or death. It is a homeland or death for Rastafari when it comes to Ethiopia. And so Ethiopia, of course, in the Horn of Africa, and the Grand Renaissance Dam is also a big issue there. And we see Egypt now raising its angry head, if you will, at Ethiopia. How do you see this playing out? And any intention of kind of looking at that as we go down the following weeks, as we go through the following weeks?
Well, what is true is that Egypt is going to have to keep their mouth, because there's been a negotiation back and forth with Ethiopia and Egypt. See who is controlling the Nile and who is doing this and who can do a dam and blah blah blah. And Ethiopia said, you're trying to stop progress in this continent. We're bringing power. We're bringing all kinds of things with this dam that is going to benefit the entire region, and we're just going to do this. So the reason I said Egypt has to keep their mouth is, in order for Egypt's focus to become a reality, they will have to roll back the benefits of the dam. And that is just ridiculous for them to try to say, we're not going to like this dam to be commissioned because we want things to go back to what they were. When the dam is benefiting, Egypt is benefiting everyone. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I think aren't we playing? It's in the same thing in the Caribbean. We had a discussion this morning with Professor Isaac Sene. Part of what we talked about was the parallels between the 1930s, which led to World War II, and what we see happening in the Caribbean waters now, and not just the Caribbean waters, but generally. And it's a very same thing, for Egypt, that whole dam situation, the Nile. Remember, the Nile was a big part of all of that period. And so we have these very same issues raising their heads again. Wherever we look, we see parallels of the 1930s. Isn't this phenomenal?
It is phenomenal because what we as the citizens of the world are allowing to happen is the same playbook to be repeated over and over and over again, like we don't evolve as humans. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
and that is why the stance has to be that we cannot surrender, right? And that's it goes back to the song we're talking about. We cannot surrender. While life goes on, everyone's got to hang on. You cannot surrender. This is foolishness just being repeated by the same set of cult leaders or cult members that want to control the resources and power of this world. And we cannot let it happen. We have to move forward. We have to innovate. We have to evolve.
And is this why Ibrahim Traore is so important to the conversation going forward? And the Sahel?
Yes, absolutely. And again, I don't want us as African people, as Jamaican people, to say Ibrahim Traore as the one.
Yes.
There are many that we all should big up and we all should celebrate. The three in the Sahel, Bako in Botswana, the lady in Namibia.
Nandi,
there's so many people that we have to sing their song,
and we must bring their names forward. And I think this is part of our responsibility as we go into these conversations, is to bring all their names forward as we go through this process. Yeah, I take that on.
100%. I was talking to an entertainer, a very popular entertainer out of Jamaica, and I said to him, "Why is it that we don't hear songs about Ibrahim Traore or Assimi Goita or those guys or those people in Africa that are absolutely going against the grain and standing up for African rights and everything?" And the individual, again, this is a huge artist in Jamaica. He said, sir, we're afraid of visa problems. I said, wait a minute, star. What we are talking about? You mean to tell me, say, well, I mean, I kind of just left the conversation because, say, everybody's reality is them reality.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
But we, the citizens, because remember, we play their music and we buy their music.
Right.
We have to make certain demands of our entertainers that them stop with the foolishness.
Right.
And start to go back and pen some music that actually means something for our culture.
How important is that? How important is that? Because I know we're coming from a a culture, and this is something that we're used to. We're coming from the Bob Marleys and the Dennis Browns and Freddie McGregor. That's how we in a 4 age group. We're coming from that space where even if I sing love songs, it's revolutionary. Peter Tosh and all of them, that they were very purposeful about what they were, how they were commenting on what was happening, or putting it in perspective, analyzing it through the music. So, but that has changed, not just in Jamaica, but there seems to be a global change where the music really doesn't speak to the struggles of the people or to liberation.
Well, what I can tell you is that might not be a fully true statement, because the music is still there. Okay. I mean, because we have the Lila Ikes, we have the Chronics, we have Kez Namdi. If you look at the Grammy nomination list, 3 out of the 4, every artist that are now being put for Grammys.
But remember the premise of the conversation, which is that how come we don't hear Ibrahim Traore? I want to hear these people in the music.
I understand what you're saying.
So are they doing those kind of music, or are they? And I love these people. Kez Namdi was supposed to be on the program this morning. I had to cancel because of what happened in Venezuela. But the point I'm making is, so the question you raised to the artist was, why aren't we hearing about Ibrahim Traore, for example, in the music, and the response you got? So it means then that even those who are doing the conscious lyrics are not necessarily doing those kinds of music.
What they're not necessarily doing, which the Bobs and the Peter Toshes and everybody did, is they're not taking chances.
Okay.
They're having social commentary, but they're not taking chances.
All right, point
and
taken.
That is the difference. That is the difference with the music.
Yeah.
They're being safe.
Yes.
Whereas, especially Peter Tosh, who was one of the biggest supporters of Palestine back in the day, right? They took chances and they stood up for something
and introduced the apartheid struggle through music.
Exactly
to Jamaica.
Exactly. So that's the problem I have with the music that is done. They're doing conscious music, but they're not taking chances and not educating the people. Because remember, so reggae music is social commentary, right? And even though you have your dancehall music and everything, and dancehall is evolving to what it is now and whatever.
Excuse me, let me bring Big A into this conversation. Let me bring Big A on the conversation.
Big up Big A, man.
Big A said the name of 2026, we must leave him alone.
I got myself in enough trouble.
What kind of trouble you get in? What kind of trouble you get in today?
Listen, people hate me from the position.
Because people hate him from position. It's just it's reggae music, and that we're talking about. I know you're hearing it. You're not hearing it. You're not on a headphone.
No.
Listen.
Actually, I heard the discussion coming down, but it was pitchy patchy because of the reception.
Okay, right. So you know hear what we're saying, but so Big A refused to participate because
I know you have a very knowledgeable guest.
Yeah. I do have that's true. He says I have a knowledgeable guest, and that is true. So Charles, just to wrap things up, and because you're going to come back next week, and I don't think that we can have this conversation without putting Jamaica in the center of it, because it is what it is, right? When we talk about
that is true.
Geopolitics, it's just the isness of things, and this is why I think both of us interest, which is reggae music, wouldn't necessarily flow into this conversation. But you're saying that for Ibrahim Traore, for others on the continent of Africa who are doing so well, these are the people we should foreground. But one of the ways that we can also do that is, as we have done over time, is for the singers and players of instrument to bring them forward first, to go first, if you will.
100. Absolutely. Right. It has to happen, because that is how Jamaica's message has gotten to the world. It's through the music. And Jamaica's message has influenced the world through the music. So the best way to educate and to tell our people to get up and stand up is by doing it in the music.
All right. You agree, Biggie? The best way to grab the microphone, because Biggie is here now, and it's him. We're nearly in a theme time now, So, thank you to our listeners for listening. This is a conversation we've had before in a big game, in terms of where the music was going. It's also your concern.
By the way,
right?
Happy New Year.
Oh, same to you too. Happy Babylon New Year.
And to your guest.
Yes, this is Charles Hyatt Jr.
Happy New Year.
Oh,
Charles Hyatt the second.
What you're saying to me? I have had conversation with him before.
Well, there you go.
Some years ago, and it overdue. It overdue, Bridget.
Yes, man, absolutely, and we will keep it up, man.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
All right, listen, and for a little bit of the conversation I caught, you have to remember though, and this is in reference to you saying that we're not talking more about what is happening on the continent in terms of what is happening in Burkina Faso and so on. You have to remember though, Kabu, that in the 70s, when we were championing that movement, right, the anti-apartheid movement and so on, you have to remember that it was in our face here in Jamaica. Meaning that the sanctions were real. We saw it in the news every day what Jamaica was doing for the fight and that kind of thing. So it was easy to relate to what was happening in South Africa, because it was part of us. We felt it immediately when we walked out of our doors.
But it was the music that brought it to us, though,
No, I think that was mirrored though by what was happening in the political space. We know that we saw that Jamaica was leading in terms of sanctions and that kind of thing on the continent. So it was easy to speak about it, and it was relevant. We don't see that happening here in
because Jamaica. I get the point, because Jamaica, without any ideological foundation, really doesn't take the stance of the oppressed anymore. Jamaica is now on the side of the oppressor. Pretty much.
Yeah. Right. And
well said.
And it is reflected in the music. So why do we need to talk about Burkina Faso, for example? We don't see it happening in real time, in our space. So it is distant. We have to go read up on some book now and go to some remote space to find out what is happening on the continent. True. In the 70s, it was our news. It was our diet. You understand? Yeah. So it was a far easier experience to relate to that kind of experience as opposed to now.
That makes sense, Charles?
Yeah, but what Biggie is saying very clearly is that it is systemic. So that is what we have to pay attention to. The system has changed to distract us from the realities of what is happening in the world that we are impacting.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a very serious statement.
Yeah. It is something to chew on and something to think about. And I know that the ongoing conversations will include this. I'll just block a nice space until Big A if you come in early and we'll have these conversations. No, it's necessary. No, we've had these conversations. Because what does it say about reggae music? Because I heard you earlier, Charles. I mean, you said reggae music is revolutionary music or protest music, something, right? That's what, conscious music, revolutionary music.
Conscious music, yeah.
Right. So that if it is what it is, then what isn't reggae music? So even when... Is it and me and Biggie have this conversation already. Because obviously reggae is reggae. I mean, you're talking about the beats, you're talking about the rhythms and so on. But so you can put anything on it. Is it wholesome reggae when you add now the conscious lyrics, the revolutionary music, and then what if you don't?
Well, you see, the thing about it is that reggae music, the sound of reggae music does not do well with foolishness, right? You can't think. I can't think of a song, and Big A, you probably would know better than me, of a reggae song that shot stupidness.
Yeah, yes, there is.
You see, Fargo.
No, you have remember, you know, remember, you know that especially toasting and the early forms of DJing.
Yeah. No man, a reggae music.
No. Yeah, and
him kind of gone purist in the beginning.
Right. Yeah. And you have a lot of reggae songs that.
Which one?
No, all right. You remember, you know, there's a classic example, and this is not necessarily a reggae song, but it was covered in reggae. A Whiter Shade of Pale, right? No, a Whiter Shade of Pale don't make no sense at all, you know,
but
right?
You mean it makes sense?
No. Will somebody explain? Would you try and explain it to me?
I will next week.
All right, explain it to me, right? No.
It's a commentary
on what? Skip a line, Fandango. Can't you?
Yes.
Right? No.